Hello and welcome to ASB podcast number 4. Today I'm in Sydney with the lovely Alison Thomas, the current General Manager of Volcom Australia and New Zealand. Good to catch up with you, Ali.
Nice to see you.
It's been a long time coming, this interview, and I'm really looking forward to having a good chat to you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problems. You sent me some really good information about your life, and I just find it so fascinating to read all this about you, so it's going to be interesting hearing your story. So as a child, you said you did a lot of travelling when you were growing up. Where did you mostly grow up?
A lot of travelling. I had quite a transient upbringing. So my mum had a dance school, so we started off in Canberra and a couple of moves within Canberra, and then moved across to Melbourne. So started off in the city, South Yarra, and then moved across to the Dandenong. So and I eventually ended up in Sydney, which is probably where I got ingrained in, or kind of started off in the surfing kind of layer of my life. But so moved to Sydney on the Northern Beaches around 16.
Okay.
And ended up wrestling into Narrabeen area.
Right. Oh, you were in Narrabeen.
I wasn't as a girl, but absolutely got obsessed with surfing through that layer, and any waking moment was doing that.
Right. And who?
Never particularly good, but had a grin on my dial all the same.
Who were the hot surfers then? Who was?
Kind of being in Narrabeen, like Nathan Hedge kind of era, but for me it was more, at that chapter, it was more about recreational, just having a bit of fun.
Right, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And then you moved into snowboarding.
I did. Yeah, so that kind of came about, I'd done a little bit of snowboarding before, but I was working after school, worked in a bank, tried the suit and tie thing, and had a good time. A lot of skills that I still use today, I learnt through that chapter. But it never quite fit. So I actually went over to WA on a holiday. I used to do random holidays, and this particular one was a thing called Outward Bound, an organisation called Outward Bound, and you go in the bush for a month, everything on your back, food, drink, and everything in between, and see no civilization, and you have a lot of kind of deep moments, deep thoughts.
How old were you when you did this?
That one was about 19, 20.
Okay, so after school?
After school, so I'm in the bank, and that was my holiday. And then when I came out from the bush, had a bit of an epiphany and went, I've got to give this snowboarding thing a proper go. And
right.
So resigned, dumped my boyfriend, resigned from my job, and went solo, jumped in the car and started doing ski seasons.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to go back a bit. So when you were growing up, what shaped Alison? What was what inspired you? I mean, you were surfing.
Yep.
You found the snow, but what inspired you? Was there anyone in particular or any situation?
Yeah. Look, I think, I don't know if I can define it as in one pure inspiration, but I really break it down in chapters, and I think they're all layers and chapters that kind of define who you are. So I think all of it, like I referenced the mum's dance school, I think that exposed me to a businesswoman from a very young age. I think the surfing layer, that chapter kind of introduced me into a lifestyle and a sport that I still live and now work for every day, and kind of moved me. I think the chapter of the bank kind of gave me that stability and maybe a little bit more structure and whatnot. So I think having a good time is my definition of life. I am serious, but I'm also loose. So, and I'm all right about that.
I think I could relate to that too.
Yeah.
Maybe we're brother and sister.
Maybe come from the same cloth. Quite possible.
What did you want to be when you were growing up? Did you have anything in mind, like as a young girl?
Yeah, you know what? I never really. I think that's why I didn't go through uni. I didn't know that. I looked through the courses and couldn't quite work out what I was going to commit to. So I tried on, actually, to get into the bank. I applied for 2 jobs at Centrelink. One was a Jillaroo, random, and the other one was to work in the bank, and the bank called me up first, and then the next day the Jillaroo job called me back. So I often think about what could have happened if I took the different phone call in the other order. But I think it's just having a go, jumping in, diving in, and I think everything that I've kind of done to date has been that, not necessarily being too concerned if you are ready for it, having a dig. So there's plenty of times I wasn't ready for it and you had to quickly learn. And I've been very fortunate to have good people around me, good mentors, and kind of helped along the journey.
What sort of parents did you have? They sound like they would have been good, solid parents who gave you good messages growing up. Good. They're kind of very independent upbringing. I think now I've got children. I think about some of the freedom at a young age, and I'm not sure I'll be telling some of those stories to my kids, but very independent and good, both working parents. They both work very hard. I grew up with different nannies from different cultures. We had a Fijian guy at one stage. We had a 60-year-old lady at another chapter. So I think all these different people in my youth kind of gave me different textures to who I am. But good parents, and makes sense.
Yeah,
I think I've seen some people worried that they're farming their kids out to different people, but I always think it's a good thing because they get influences from different people. Sounds like that's what you got.
I think so, and I'm a working mum now, and I live in Queensland, and I travel down to Sydney each week for work, and when I'm home I give 120, and when I'm here I'm allowed to, it gives me the freedom to do the same to the office. So I think it works. You make it work, and you feel okay about it. Keep going. Don't get too caught up in the headspace.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So you said before you had an epiphany. Got rid of the boyfriend. Got rid of the job. At 20 is a hard thing to do, I would think. And then got rid of the job and took off. What did mum and dad say when you did this? Or what did everyone say?
Oh, look, I think they're pretty used to it by this stage. It was within 2 weeks I'd made that, and I got myself a job. I was working in a bar to start with, because I figured that was night work and I could ride all day, which was the purpose. Going down there, and got very obsessed working at Perisher, got very obsessed on the snow, and got a good group of riders around with me. I'm very fortunate to ride with, for those who know the snow industry, the Clint Liddy and Clint Shervington, and there's a lot of big Andrew Burton, big names for that time. And it was kind of when snowboarding was kicking off, getting a little bit stronger. We had a half pipe, then we got the super pipe cutter, and in retrospect now, what the progression where it is now, I wouldn't have had space in today's world with the tricks and whatnot that we were doing back then. But for its time, it was good. So I did. Ended up being 12 seasons back to back through Canada and the US, and
so you were heading over, chasing winter.
Chasing winter, I'd have a couple of months, maybe 6 to 8 weeks in on the northern beaches, and get a bit of surfing in, and maybe I'd go to Bali in between for a quick thaw out, and then I'd head overseas. So quickly got into competitive snowboarding, and big air was the discipline that I enjoyed.
Right, okay. So, and what was happening then? Was there prize money, or was it
prize money?
Big, was it?
Prize money. It was it was decent. It wasn't for myself. It wasn't. I had some great sponsors, Oakley and K2, back in the day. But it wasn't big money, but it wasn't about that. It was again just having a bit of fun and getting a bit of income on the way. And
was it a lot of fun?
A lot of fun, and then a lot of friends. Like my close network today are still from the snow. My 2 bridesmen when I got married were my snowboarding buddies.
I knew we'd have bridesmen.
It's the only way to Keep it relaxed, I think. But
Yeah, and go on. You can tell us what was your best result. What there must have been a moment,
Oh, look.
or many, maybe many.
Look. Okay. Yep. I've got one defining moment that I I still think and talk about a lot today. And so Charlotte's Pass. There's a road gap. There's a road that takes you up from Perisher through to Charlotte's Pass, and the way the snow builds up throughout the season, there's a big transition, and you know if it's all right, you can build a good jump off the lip, and there's about 40 foot across the road, and then probably down you're looking at 30 foot. So it's quite a significant jump. So we had a cat to help build the jump, and then we shoveled it for a couple of days, and that in itself, the mateship, and it was an awesome couple of days before we even hit the jump. And I remember the Allen brothers. They were with me. That they ended up being amazing riders and professional snowboarders. But yeah, so there was a bunch of us, and I remember a lot of the time the guys used to go and hit it. Yep, I would always kind of is this one okay? And that was the one moment that they all said, you've got to work that one out for yourself. And kind of a couple of people hit it, and then I just, I knew I could land it. I knew, kind of thought about it and paced it out and hit it and held the grab and landed it, and didn't do anything too spectacular on the first jump, but that was what winning lotto to me. Right. Having all my best mates there, accomplishing a bigger jump than I'd done before with bigger consequences. If you don't make the transition, you're not walking out. And
really, it was that serious. Like,
well, yeah,
is it the road or is it the other side, the landing?
It's if you don't make the landing, it's you're on the road.
Is that right?
Yeah. So yeah. So luckily, that didn't happen to anyone. But
do you remember being in the air and sort of?
Yep, vividly.
I've got this, or
yep, I remember the whole feeling, the freedom, a lot of training up before then. It's not something you just you just go and do. But yeah, look, it was amazing, and I think at the time I'd been the only female that had done that. So that again, it wasn't the purpose of doing it, but
is that a moment you've looked back on, and when you've had to tackle something that you felt like this is a difficult moment? Have you looked back at that and gone, look, you did that, and used that as
definitely.
boosting?
I think I think you can use it as a metaphor for in life. I guess you sum it up. Don't just, sometimes it's jumping in and having a go, but when the consequences are big, just make sure you've thought about it and it makes sense, and it's and if you believe in yourself, you can do it. So that was a good day. Very good day.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess everyone went nuts, and
everyone went nuts and got
big party that night.
Big party, got the cover shot on the magazine.
Is that right? Yeah.
That was pretty cool too. But look, honestly, all of that showmanship wasn't about that. It was the mateship. Yeah. And everyone diving on top of you when you land, and it was good.
Yeah,
good day.
Awesome.
Good day.
No, it's a great story, and good to hear. So from the ski fields, what was a moment now? I need to get serious, and
it was probably thrust upon me a little bit. I was in Vale, and I blew my knee, which was the first major injury. I had a few littler ones, but so I had a knee reconstruction, and I wanted to do another. I knew I was coming to the end, and I was getting a little older, and had to kind of consider the next chapter. But I wanted to prove myself and do another competitive season, so I did that. And still placed, and that was good. But then my plan was to wrap up after that season, which I did, and I wanted to stay in the industry, so I actually applied for a job with Rip Curl, and with Dave Johnson back in the day, and I actually didn't get it, and it was the first job that I hadn't got, and the first thing I'd gone for, and it came down to me and this other girl, and I remember not getting it, and I'm like, okay, no worries.
Was that a little,
Yeah, it was a little old, because I'd done so many seasons. I'm like, have I left it too long? And it's the first time I actually felt a bit concerned that I couldn't just move ahead in what
Right.
I'd chosen. But it was good for me. And I remember saying to Dave, I didn't get the job. Could you give me some feedback? And he's like, well, the other girl had a little bit more retail experience. And I'm like, excellent, cool. Well, I'll see you next round. So I went and worked for Balmoral Boards as a result of that feedback, and I had a fantastic time through that chapter. And another job came up at Rip Curl and rocked back up and went, I've got the furthermore retail experience, and
Right.
and he's like, I can't not hire you now. So
it was with Dave Jono again.
Dave Jono, Shane Patterson, there was and Mel Gray. There was some amazing Larissa people in the industry through that chapter, but I quickly moved across to Torquay. So
Right. Oh, so you started in Sydney.
started in Sydney as a sales
Right.
rep and worked the New South Wales sales South Coast, looked after their snow program, trade shows and whatnot. And then Nickel Wiley and Steve Kay poached me from that team and brought me down to what I call my uni degree down at Torquay.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Okay.
yeah, that was an amazing experience. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but a lot of people do say Torquay is not a great fit for them, but I personally had an incredible time there. We travelled a lot through Europe and a lot of time in the factories through Vietnam and all Asian countries, but the mentors through that building were incredible. Like Steve Kay was great to me. I think one of my favourite one-liners that he said when I started, because I'm like, you've got me in to be a product manager, so what is it? What do you do being a product manager? Because I was a sales rep like yesterday.
Manage products.
And he's like, look, kind of gave me a little bit of a rundown. He's like, look, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit if you make a mistake. Just don't make it twice. And I remembered that line every time I was trying something that I'm not too sure on the consequences on this one or whether I'm doing it right. I'm like, well, if it's wrong, I won't do that again. So but it was great. Hodge, Steve, Nickel, just Gary Crothall.
Yeah.
There's just some amazing legends in that building, and
I can relate to that. I mean, I did a couple of years at Rip Curl in the early '80s, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
I think I learned so much.
So
everything.
fast.
Extremities and
yeah.
my limits.
Yeah, limits. Yeah.
It's a lot of great people. And I think you're right about Torquay. To go and see Torquay outside of Bell's Easter weekend, it's an amazing place.
The
Isn't
culture there is just phenomenal, and I think just that injection into the surf community, and I just got goosebumps. Like, I still do when I drive in there. I think that place is incredible.
Yeah.
But that was good, and I think after that, so product manager, I worked through different departments there, and I knew I wanted to come back to Sydney at some point.
Right. So how long were you down there for?
Oh gosh, maybe 4 years.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, maybe don't quote me on that one, but yeah, but that was good.
And what years were these? Come on.
I did work in the bank. I should be good with numbers, but yeah.
That's right.
Well, I've been with Volcom for 14 years.
The reason why I ask is because you don't look old, and you're forever youthful, and but it's like you've done so much in this.
Yeah.
What is really a short time, because when you talk about Rip Curl, I thought it was like 10 years, but it's actually 4. Or you're competing and all that.
Well,
everything,
you know what?
everything seems.
You know what? I often got opportunities, and I think the key is to say yes, and even when you don't know what you're doing, for example, that product managing comment that I said before, figure it out. Dive in there and figure it out. And I do think a lot of people, but I also call out, unfortunately, a lot of females, they don't back themselves, and they don't sometimes just have a go. And I think if we just remove that shackle and
Do you mentor other people? Like girls specifically? I mean,
not formally, but I mean, I guess running Volcom today. We've got some fantastic females in here that do speak to, and
because I would think that you're a person that a lot of people would maybe come up to you out of other
in the
people's
industry
view and just ask you for advice on
Yeah,
things and that
yeah.
because you're obviously a role model. I mean, you're doing a great job. You
Yeah.
have done a great job. And
Oh,
that's
thank
why
you.
I'm interviewing you today because
Yeah.
you have set the standard. you know.
Yeah, well, no, it's been good fun, and look, that's not. I guess I am getting old now. I don't think of myself as old, but I do notice it around the office even at the moment. Yeah, there's like 20-year gap or something. I'm like, shit.
We were the grommets once. Well, I'm older than you. I'll
I'm
let
still
you
growing.
have that
I'm,
one.
I'm
but-
claiming that one.
Well, of course, but I consider myself a dinosaur in the industry these
Yeah.
days. But we were the grommets once,
Yep.
and it is funny to look now all the new ones coming through.
Yes, yep.
So
It's great.
You've been at Volcom what 14 years?
14 years, yeah, it's gone fast. It's actually, it sounds like it is a long time, but
How did that come about? Because you moved back to Sydney, didn't you?
yeah. So I was originally applying for a job with Burton, and we really liked Wes, and couldn't quite find out how to make it fit for his company. It was a bit more of a distributor model. So he introduced me to JC. So I started chatting to JC, and he eventually brought me up from Torquay, and so I moved right through from production, running through the accessories team, then running the apparel, then got moved retail, e-com. So again, so a lot of these changes was with JC, and then Dougal came on board, who I just adore. He was an incredible mentor through the Volcom years. Both JC and Dougal were through the different points. But so different departments, different
Right. Okay.
jobs were kind of moved.
You would have seen a lot of changes in Volcom because I mean it was privately owned. Then I think Kering came on.
Yeah, so it was bought back by Volcom, and then
that's
Kering,
right.
and
Yeah.
and then more recently ABG. So huge changes. We were, I think, when I started with the company, we were over 50 staff, and then moved in Australia, much larger over in the US and Europe, and lots of different shrinkage and changes. And as we moved into retail, Eymes as well, different
Yeah.
team needed to come on. So yeah, it's been. I think that's probably another really. I think it's a good thing being older. How I adapted to change in the earlier years versus adapting to change today is completely different, and
Right.
there's no fear in it. It's you can't control the change, so you just
Right.
you take that off the table, and
What do you say to yourself when that change comes along and it's a bit of a challenge? What?
I think you just got to put in the best that you can offer to the table, and don't worry about what ifs.
Right.
I think what ifs can, and it probably talks back to the career path comment, like what ifs can mess with your head.
Yeah.
So get it out and just conquer the challenge, and yeah.
Mm. And what was how was working with Dougal? I mean, I know you looked up to him. And
Yeah.
That, but what can you remember some of the advice you got from Dougal that you maybe carry today, or things you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dougal is a very humble and kind person, and I think he led like that. He would he never did things that weren't ethical or respectful to his staff or to customers, and I definitely absorbed that through his chapter. So
Right.
yeah, he was a great mentor. Extremely big shoes to fill when he moved on.
Yeah.
That was probably the first one that's like, whew, this one. Stepping in after him is a tough one. He's so respected in the industry, and I was I worked a lot in the industry, but you would say maybe behind the scenes a little bit, maybe not quite as visible as Dougal. So
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of-
Sure, that was. I know you said you stayed in touch with him when he handed over the reins.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He always would check in every couple of months, and sometimes just a coffee, but other times on a advice mode. But yeah, I think he's always going to be there to some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he loves giving advice.
He
Did
loves
you
to
ever
chat.
get cornered at a Christmas party by Dougal, like some of us did?
Yes, yes.
That's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some of you
Loves
will
a
know.
chat. Loves a chat.
Loves a chat.
Yeah.
So you're married with 2 kids. How long have you been married now?
Yeah. Oh God, there's another one for me. Not good with dates. I'm not good. Okay, there's my flaw. I'm not good with dates. A while. I should know this.
A while. How old are your kids?
Okay, there we go. That one.
Do you remember their names?
I do. Ashton and Ivy. Yeah. So 6 and 7.
Right. Okay.
That's been. I didn't actually want children, so I didn't see that in my in my future at the time, and there's only a year difference between the two of them, and
bang. Let's get this done.
Oh no, bang! Whoops. Maybe would be more the. But anyway, so but they're unreal. They make you efficient. I think they make you a better employee. Well, they made me better anyway.
Because they're the boss and you're the employee, is that what you're saying?
No, you don't sweat the small stuff. You get on with it. You have to be even more organised than what you were before in order to manage things. You prioritise better.
Right.
I think there's lots of things they've taught me, or parenthood has taught me. But
right, you must be just absolutely organised. Have you always been a real organised person? Are you?
Yeah, my husband would probably answer that differently, but yeah, I am, and I don't, I'm not a big sleeper, so I've got quite a few working hours to manage.
Right,
things.
okay. So you how many hours do you need a night?
Get 2 different or
right.
want. There's 3 different answers there, but last night 5 hours. So,
right, okay, yeah. Because a lot of good leaders or a lot of good. What am I trying to say? Smart people, you don't need a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
And I think when you took over as GM, being ex-Volcom as well, you'd hear snippets going around, and I just happened to ask one day someone, "How's Ali getting on?" And they went, "Well, we're getting emails at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, she's really embracing this job, and by all accounts, you're doing a great job.
I try not to do that too much these days, and no one needs to reply at that time either. But I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying it. It was a great opportunity that Todd had given me, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know everyone here at Volcom respects you a lot, and I'm sure they were very, very happy to have you come on as GM after Dougal, and instead of someone new or strange to them. So, how's it all going now?
All things have positives and negatives, but it's going good. So the Volcom chapter has been good, and it's challenging. I think the retail environment is tough for everybody, and I think you've got to really work at it, and you can't keep doing the same things as you did them before. You've got to keep trying new things, and back to the Steve K comment, if you get it wrong, just don't do it again. So learn from it and try something new. So, but it's good. There's a lot of newness coming into the industry, technology and so I think it's not all doom and gloom. I think that's important that people stay positive and keep open-minded to the next chapter. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I always used to think that the whole world hasn't stopped.
No,
someone's still doing business. Well, why don't we make sure it's us? Or
stay relevant.
Something.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, and Volcom's been a brand that I was trying to think about before we did the interview. That's never been. It's been quite big, but never been one of the big guys. But just as quietly gone about its thing, hasn't it? Sort of. There's a lot of others that have come and gone, but Volcom's just stayed there. And
look, it's
done its thing. It's an amazing brand.
It can navigate and kind of. It's got a surfskate, snow, music, art. It's got a lot of different characteristics to it that we can lean on through the chapters. We're not defined by one channel, and yes, we're not in Australia. I think if you go to the US or Europe, it's slightly different. But in Australia, we're not part of that big, the bigger brands in the corner. But we're not small. So it's kind of nice being in the middle. Yeah.
Do you recognise that, and do you feel that, and
absolutely
like that, and sort of?
I do. I think the growth. We're owned by big companies these days, and they want growth. So, I don't know if they'll answer that middle zone's where they want to be, but yeah.
Yeah, everyone wants more, but
well, we've always got to keep moving, absolutely, and keep relevant.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. Yeah. Just finally, because I think you're a inspiration to a lot of people. What's your advice to the young people coming into the surf industry these days?
Yeah, I love having the new layers coming. It's so important to bring in the new guns. I think we need more in the office actually in today. But I think advice. I think just have a go. Use your intuition. Calculate it and have a go. And you don't get in your head too much. Stay positive. I think negativity can really damage companies and industries and also people's opportunity to move into the next step. But yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ali. It's been great chatting to you
nice
today.
Chatting to you too.
What a great story.
Yeah,
I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.